this Bible predicted 2,000 years ago that there was going to be a dictator that would come that would be able to control buying and selling of every person on earth. You would not be able to function in society. You would not be able to buy or sell without his mark or his name or his number. Now, this was scoffed at. It's like, how could anyone control all buying and selling on earth? That's impossible, because every country had its own money. You could have a little village out somewhere that did their own trading or whatnot. But right now we're coming into a global government. It's going to be a one world economy, and there's not going to be any more cash. It's not going to be any more national currencies. It's not going to be anything except you're going to have an RFID chip that will be in your right hand or your forehead, and they'll just scan you, and all the transactions will be done through that. How could the Bible know that was happening, and if it wasn't inspired by God? It's just there's no other explanation. I mean, the people that scoffed at this, and now it's happening. So, and these are just a couple of prophecies I picked out. Okay, so let's go over here to Matthew 24. Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Okay, I already mentioned that prophecy has been fulfilled specifically because the temple that existed at their time, all the stones have been completely thrown down, and to this day they're still, the ruins of those stones can still be observed. Okay, and he sat upon the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming in the end of the world? And Jesus answered them, Take heed that no man deceive you. Okay, the first thing he said was, take heed that no man deceive you. That's something we need to think about, because so many people are being deceived today. There's so much deception out there. It's like, we need to be following the words of Yeshua, Jesus, and we need to be following the words of the Bible, and not the words of men that are deceiving people. Okay, he says, many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Okay, right now you could go on the internet and type in, I haven't done it myself, but I heard people talking about it. You could go on there and just type in, Jesus, Jesus the Messiah, Jesus the Christ, and there'll be a bunch of names that'll pop up. All these people that are claiming to be Christ, and there's this guy Maitreya that claims to be Christ. I mean, there's all kinds of people out there trying to claim to be Christ, and there's all kinds of false religions out there and false cults saying that they're Christ, just like Jesus said they would. Okay, so he said, don't be deceived by these people. Okay, read his words. Read the words of Jesus himself in the Bible. Okay, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay, what do we have right now? Wars and rumors of wars. He said, don't be troubled. These must come to pass. The end is not yet. We've had World War I, World War II, and we're getting ready for World War III, and things are getting worse in this world. This world doesn't have much time left. That's why I'm making this YouTube video, because I want people to wake up and realize that we don't have a lot of time to get right with God. These things are really happening. Okay, ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. These are the things that are happening right now. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There should be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Okay, yeah, there have always been famines and pestilence and earthquakes, but they're definitely increasing. And he said right there in verse 8, it says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. and that means birth pains. So it's like a woman who's having birth pains. What happens when a woman has birth pains is she'll have a pain, and then all of a sudden it'll go away, and she'll be fine again. And all of a sudden, boom, she gets another pain, and it's worse, and it lasts a little longer, and then it goes away. And then after a while, she has another pain, and it's a lot worse, and it lasts longer, and it's like more intense. And that's the way it is. These things have all been happening in the world. First, we had, we had the government come in and massacre all those little babies at Waco, Texas, and then we had the federal building blown up. That what was that federal building that was blown up in Oklahoma, was it? And then we had the Columbine shooting, and then we had 9/11. And so we're having all these things that are getting progressively worse and worse. Right now we're in a time where nothing, we've had tsunamis, we've had things, and the earthquakes are getting a lot more frequent. See, they're becoming more frequent and more intense, just like a woman who's having birth pains. We're having worse earthquakes in the world and more frequently. This is exactly what the Bible said was going to happen. Okay, so the sorrows, the birth pains of a woman, they get more frequent and more intense, until the birth comes, and then they get the worst right before. The pains are the worst during the birthing process. And that's what we're working up to. So we're having devastation and then some peaceful time in between, and then things get worse, and then in between. So the next thing that's going to come is going to be worse than 9/11. Okay, verse 9 says, "Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake." Okay, this is talking about the disciples of Jesus. They're going to be afflicted and persecuted and killed and hated because of him. And this is happening throughout the world. In certain countries, you will be killed if you are known to be a Christian. Muslim nations kill Christians, and they want to take over Europe and the United States and kill the Christians here and there as well. And that is what is happening. And you look at England right now; it's being taken over by the Muslims. There's so many, and it's not only the Muslims. I mean, there's other governments as well that are persecuting Christians and Jews all over the world. But what I'd like to get into now is the odds, the mathematical odds of any one person fulfilling prophecies that were written hundreds of years before they were fulfilled. And that even just 8 prophecies. I want to get into the odds of how astronomical these odds are, because if there have been mathematicians who have calculated odds on these. Okay, so if someone who's we could calculate odds. We could calculate the odds of winning the lottery. So these things can be calculated mathematically. And for any one person to fulfill 8 prophecies that were written hundreds of years in advance is 1 in 10 to the 17th power. That's 1 in 10 with 17 zeros behind it. So in order to make an analogy that one could understand those odds, imagine if your living room was filled 2 feet deep with silver dollars, and you painted one of them red, and you had your friend come in with the blindfold on, and the one red one was buried in there somewhere, and he had to find it with one opportunity. That's pretty slim odds that he'd find it.